menorah. Pareva con Hatzalavat Kulamo Israel Vaimromen. Ose Shalom Yimramo, Uberamo Yase Shalom Aleinu Verkol Amo Israel Vaimromen.
Amen. Laila Tov, Erev Tov, Rabotai, Chazak Baruch. I want to tell you a little bit about Chanuka. Another important thing that we have to discuss is about where we put the menorah, where we put the Chanukia, where the placement is of the Chanukia. So the truth is, the Chazal tell us several things about the placement of the Chanukia. One is, first of all, what height should it be, right? So what height? What is the height of the Chanukia? So they say the mitzvah min Bukhar, it says in the Shulchan Aruch, to place it between 3 tfachim and 10 tfachim, right? So according to that, it shouldn't be higher than your waist. You know, it's pretty low, right? Nobody does it that low today. But the truth is that it's mitzvah min Bukhar. But we have to understand what the reason is why this is mitzvah min Bukhar. Why is it considered to be the best mitzvah to do the Chanukia low like this? According to a simple meaning, what it means is that it's very visible that way. You know, the eye readily sees it like that. When it's low like that, the eye sees it very well, so it's very noticeable. This is the reason why, according to the pashut understanding, according to simple understanding. But there's also a higher understanding, according to some drash, that I'm going to tell you a little bit of a drasha there. So you know where it says, right, that there's a special pasuk. There's a special pasuk. It says over there, Hashamayim la'Hashem ve'aratz asa livnei Adam. You ever hear this pasuk? Everybody knows this pasuk, right? Hashamayim la'Hashem ve'aratz asa livnei Adam. So what is it talking about? It says the Gemara, what it means, this pasuk is that the Shekhinah, the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is in Shamayim. And the Aretz, the land, He made for the people. You know, for us, human beings. Right? So it says the Gemara, you know what that means? That the Shekhinah, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashamayim la'Hashem, He doesn't come below 10 tfachim. Waist high. 10 tfachim is about waist high. The Shekhinah doesn't come below that. Why is that? Because Hashamayim belongs to Hashem, but the Aretz Natan Livnei Adam. He gave the Aretz, to their land, to the people. So the Shekhinah doesn't come down so low. Very interesting, right? That's what the Gemara says about that pasuk. That's what it means. So what does that mean? That now all of a sudden we have the Chanukia and we want to put it below 10 tefachim, below your waist. So why do you want to do that? We just said, right, that the Shekhinah doesn't come below 10 tefachim. So why do you want to put the Chanukia below 10 tefachim? What's the reason you want to do that? So the whole thing is that for Hanukkah, the Shekhinah comes especially even below 10 tefachim, right? In other words, it reaches even the lowest level. It's something, you have to understand what that means. I'll try to explain to you a little bit, right? So, you know that there's also a very interesting coincidence always, right? That this is not a coincidence, it's planned that way from Bin HaShemayim. What's the plan? The plan is that always, when we're doing Hanukkah, when we're celebrating Hanukkah, always a parashiyot about Yosef HaTzadik, you know, we read. Parashat Vayeshev, and then, right, Miketz, right? These are parashiyot that we read during Hanukkah. So why always Hanukkah falls with Yosef HaTzadik? What's the connection between this and that? Right? So they say, the pasuk, what does it say about Yosef HaTzadik? We're going to read this in the Parashat Shavua, on Shabbat. Right? It says that he was hanging around, Yosef, he was, Hayan Na'ar, it says. He was a young boy, Yosef HaTzadik, right? He was a young boy. How old was he? He was about 17 years old at that time. You know, young teenager. And he says he was with the Bnei Bilha and the Bnei Zilpah. He was hanging around with the Bnei Bilha and Bnei Zilpah. With those children, you know, the sons of the concubines, the sons of the Pilagshim, the sons of the Shefachot, that's what we call them. Right? They were like, in the beginning, these women, they were slaves, you know, they were like slaves to the Givarot, to Rachel and Leah. And then, afterwards, they got married also, became regular wives to Yaakov Avinu. But in the beginning, they were not regular wives. They were pilegesh, you know, like a shifcha, you know, like a slave kind of thing. That's what they were. That's why it calls them shefachot. Right, so what happened was that these children, you know, who were the Bnei Shefachot, what are we talking about? Dan and Naphtali, right? Gad ve'Asher. These are the four. Right? They say that, you know, they were not so strong and you know, spiritual like the other brothers because they came from the Shefachot. The Shefachot were not on the same spiritual level as Rachel and Leah. They were not the same. Even though they were tzadkaniot, Bilha and Zilpah, right? They were tzadkaniot. By the way, today we know in Eretz Israel where they're buried, Bilhan Zilpah, you know. The Arizal, he marked the grave of the Bilhan Zilpah. So we know where they are today. And some people go over there to pray over there, They were tzedkaniot, it's true. But nevertheless, they were not on the level of Rachel and Leah. What's the difference between this and that? So the Chachamim tell us, Masechet Megillah, that there were several women who were prophetesses, they were Nevi'ot. They were prophets in Am Yisrael. And Rachel and Leah were two of them. Who are they, right? Sarah, Rachel and Leah, right? And then we have Hannah, right? And these tzedkaniot that we have, all of them were prophetesses. I'm sorry? Yes, also Devorah, of course, right? She was also Shofet, right? More than that even. She was Shofet also. So, as we said, right, that there were several prophetesses that prophesied in Israel, and they were one of them. So what does that mean? That Rachel and Leah were higher level than Bilhan Zilpah. Even though they were all sisters, they were all four sisters together. What was the difference? The difference was that Bilhan and Zilpah were from Pilegesh, from Shifcha, and of Lavan, and Rachel and Leah were from the main wife, from the Giveret, right? The Ikeret Habayit, right? That's what they call it. This is the thing, They were all four sisters, basically. That's what it was. But not the same level, Not the same thing. Okay, so what Yosef HaTzadik was doing, hanging around with the sons of Bilhan and Zilpah, was to, give them chinuch, to educate them, to strengthen them, to give them chizuk, to teach them about Yahadut, about Judaism, to raise their level, to teach them to go, to become serve Hashem, that they should be also Avdei Hashem. On the other hand, the sons of Leah, they were a little bit pompous, a little bit gava there, a little bit conceited, nose in the air, So what were they saying? Oh, these are the Bnei Shfachot, these are the sons of the slaves, these boys are, second-class citizens. That's what they used to call them. So Yosef HaTzadik didn't like that, He didn't like that he called them like that. So he says, he called them Bnei Shfachot, sons of the slaves. I'm going to take care of them and teach them how to be, not slaves, right, to be full-fledged children. That's what he did. So he took it on upon himself to raise their spiritual level, So the whole thing is that's all about Chanuka. That's all Chanuka is. Chanuka means that the Shekhinah, right, this was Yosef HaTzadik, Shekhinah was with him, as it says, right, in the Pasuk, that Hashem was with him. Wherever he went, Yosef HaTzadik, the Shekhinah was with him. Whether it was the house of Potiphar, right, or anywhere he went, the Shekhinah was with him. So the Shekhinah was with him, the Shekhinah came down to the level of the sons of Zilpah and Bilha. That's the thing, right? That's the whole idea. So what does that mean? That on Hanukkah time, the Shekhinah comes down even below 10 Tfachim. What does that mean? To bring up the ones who are weak, Susti Baushabi, the ones who are not so strong, not so educated, not so learned, not so intelligent, Very simple Jews who are not really so connected very well. That's the idea, So this is the reason why Yosef HaTzadik was bringing them up like this. And this is the whole thing about Hanukkah. Hanukkah, what it does is, it unites all the Jewish people into one. What does that mean? Even the ones that are not so strong. Also, they light the Hanukkah candles, Everybody does it. It unites the whole Jewish people. Because it's so easy, all you have to do is just light a candle. Yeah. What is that? It's nothing, right? No big deal. So anybody can do that. Any Chiloni, any secular Jew can do it. Any simple Jew. Right? Whether it's a man or woman or right, big or small, whatever it is, that's the idea. So it unites all the Jewish people. So therefore, this is the reason why Chazal said, put the menorah, the chatchila, best place to put it is below 10 tfachim. Oh, to show this quality of Hanukkah. That's the idea, right? That's the whole thing. But the truth is, most of us don't do that today. So the reason, why don't we do it? Really, we should, but we don't. So what's the reason why? Probably the reason is because two things, One is that usually our tables are higher than that, So when we put it on a table, or we put it on some kind of a window sill, the window thing, it's higher than 10 tfachim. So you don't really have usually an opportunity to do that low, because it's not practical for us. Also, there's another problem. You know what it is? Sometimes when you put it low, and you have like little children in the house, they'll go and knock it down, so it's dangerous also for fire hazard. It's also another thing, This is also another reason why we don't want to do light that low. But the truth is, if you could do it, that's the best way to do the mitzvah, right? But not lower than 3 tfachim. 3 tfachim, that's the lowest you could do, right? How much is 3 tfachim? This is 1 tefach. The fist, mushti. You know? So we're talking about 8 centimeters. This is what it is, right? So 3 times 8, how much? 24, right? So 24 centimeters is the lowest you can do. You cannot do lower than that. Otherwise, you're putting on the ground. You know? They say, right, whatever is below 3 tfachim is like it's on the floor. So we don't want to put it on the floor. That's not the way it's supposed to be, right? It's not supposed to be on the floor. That's not kavod. Not kavod for the Shekhinah. It should be on the floor. So we don't want to put it below 10 tfachim. But if a person put it above 10 tfachim, you put it, let's say, like this high, you know? This is, stuff like this, right? Like we do over there. So, yatzai dechoba, he fulfills obligation. No problem, right? But there's also a maximum height that if he did higher than that, he didn't fulfill his obligation. What's the maximum height you can do for Chanukia? So the maximum height is 20 tfachim, right? Which is 10 meters. If you put it above 10 meters, it's too high, you know? You don't fulfill your obligation. Why is that? Because nobody sees that, you know? The eyes don't look up that high. You know, so nobody checks it out. So where's the people Subani said, how are you publicizing a miracle like that? You can't publicize a miracle like that. So therefore they said, don't put it too high, you know, where the eye doesn't look at it over there. That's very too high. But we're talking about, we're not talking about if you live in an apartment building, you know, on the 5th floor, right? Because for you, your floor is where you are, right? We're not talking about the floor of the outside. We're talking about the floor of in your apartment. That's how you measure. You don't measure from the floor of the yard. That's not the way it goes, right? That's the way it is. So therefore, you put it on your floor. That's fine, no problem, you know. So therefore, that's the way it's got to be done. Also, another thing is, you know, the question is, okay, so the height we covered, right? We know the height, how to do. What about the placement, right? What about the place, the room? Which room should you put it in? Which place should you put it in? What's the proper place for the Chanukia? What's the proper place for the menorah? So the truth is, you know, according to the Talmud, what does it say over there? It says in the Talmud that it should be on the outside of your house, right? Why? Because of Pirsum Nisan, right? You're supposed to publicize the miracle. How are you going to publicize the miracle if you put it inside your house? Nobody sees it over there. You know? So according to the din of Talmud, it was supposed to be outside the menorah. And this is the way they used to do it in the old days. In the old days, they used to put it outside. This was the way they did it, you know? So what that means is that they tell you like this, right? Right next to your front door, when you come into your house, you have the mezuzah on your right side, and the menorah should be on the left side, you know? So you have 2 mitzvot. You're coming in, you're surrounded with mitzvot, you know? Both sides. Beautiful. Every side you have mitzvah. Nice. That's the way you're supposed to do it according to the Talmud. What happened was that later on, as the times changed, right, this halacha also changed. How did we change the halacha? What, the Reformed Jews? God forbid, did that book? What? Why did we change the halacha? What kind of thing is that? Because there was a sakana, there was a danger, you know, that occurred. What happened was that there were some countries where they were persecuting the people who were lighting Chanukia candles outside. You know, they were killing them, they were, you know, plundering them and doing all kinds of violence, you know, all kinds of alimut, all kinds of things like this. So therefore they said, because of that, right, stop now lighting outside, no more lighting outside. Sakana, it's dangerous. Right? When it comes to danger of life, it supersedes all the mitzvot. Right? That's what the Chazal say, except 3 mitzvot. All the other mitzvot. So for sure, Hanukkah supersedes. So therefore came the Chachamim and said, you know what, since there's sakana outside, because of the galut, you know, we're in galut, with the goyim, with the anti-Semites, all kinds of things like this. So now we're going to start lighting inside. That's what they said, you know? So what does that mean to light inside? What they said was, instead of doing outside your door, the front door, now do it inside the front door. You know? Also, opposite the mezuzah. Same thing, right? Mezuzah here, menorah over here, but inside the house. This is what they said. You know? So everybody started to do inside. And then what happened was that as things went on, time went on, some people also started to put in the window as well, right? That's what happened, you know? Some people started doing the window. Why? Because in the window, everybody sees it. So there's Pirsum Nisa, people can see from the outside also. So it's good, you know, you see from both sides, right? You see from the inside, you see from the outside. That's perfect, right? That's what we want. But the truth is that if you're in a place where there's a sakana, you don't want to put it in the window. Why? Because they may come and kill you, God forbid. You know? Today, Baruch Hashem, it's much better, you know, but in those days, there was danger. That's why in those days, they didn't put it in the window. But now, we put it in the window. That's what we do, you know? So the best place to put it now, if you have people passing by there near the window and seeing the lights, is to put it on the window. This is the best thing to do, you know? if you have a window like that, which goes into the street, people see it in the street, you should put it over there. So, but, we already said, right, that what? We already mentioned that if you put it too high, people don't see it, So the thing is like this, right? They say, poskim of our times, what they say is, if you if you live on the 4th floor or higher, which is above 10 meters, right? If you're higher than that, so then people are not going to see in the street. They're not going to be looking up there. They have to break their neck, to look up there. Nobody's looking up there, the 4th floor, 5th floor. So therefore, if it's that high, there's really no mitzvah anymore to put in the window. Why? Because people are not seeing it from the street. It's too high. So therefore, then they say, if you live in a lower floor, 1, 2, 3, then put it in the window. If you're 4 and above, it's already really no big mitzvah to put it in the window. But the truth is, if you think about it, right, just logically speaking, here in this kind of area, New York City, where we have high-rise apartments, one next to the other, right? So what happens is that your neighbors will see. The one who lives on the other side, on the other apartment building, he will see those cameras, because he's also high. So therefore, for us, if we have neighbors that are also living on a high floor, we should still put it in the window, because they're going to see it. The ones who are living also on the high floor, like you, they're going to see it. So therefore, in a case like that, you should put it in the window anyway. Right? I can tell you one thing, as I mentioned here, several minhagim. Also, there's another minhag which is mentioned in some poskim. You know what they say? The minhag was to put on the table, the dining room table, Shabbat table. They used to put it over there. There was another minhag like this. So we said 3 minhagim right already today. One is next to the door, one is on the window, and one is also on the table. Right? So the truth is, that a lot of people have a custom to put on table. Shabbat table, dining room table, whatever it is, right? That's where they put it. So which is the best? Which is the best for the minhag? So as we said, right, if people are going to see it in the window, better to put it in the window. Adif. But if nobody's looking over there in that window, there's no building there, there's no people there passing by, so then just put it on your table, it's better. Why? Because if you put it on your table, at least your family will see it, right? That's what we really care about today. What does that mean? Today, we're really concentrating more on the family, not on what's going on outside. Because that mitzvah already changed because of the sakana. This is the thing, Something interesting, by the way, that today now came, because we live in Eretz Israel. Most of the Jews now, Baruch Hashem, most of the Jews, they say, according to the census, are now in Eretz Israel, not outside. Did you know that? So I guess it's time for us to go back, What are we doing over here? I don't know. What are we doing over here? We should go back. Most of the Jews are over there. And we're still over here. Why are we here? I don't know why. I'm not really sure. But anyway, right, we're doing some kind of tikkun, whatever, I guess, We have some kind of tikkun to do over here. There's a whole story about that. I don't want to get into it now. But anyway, the point is, right, that most of the Jews are in Eretz Israel. So some of the poskim, like Rabbi Yashiv, you know what they say, right? Rabbi Yashiv said, today there's no sakana, in Eretz Israel. What, somebody's going to come and break your window because you lit menorah? What's he going to do? He's going to kill you? Who's going to kill you? What? Even the biggest Chiloni is not going to kill you because you lit a Hanukkah candle. Right? So who's going to kill you? So therefore they said, today, since there's no sakana, so we should go back to light outside. Oh, that's what he said, Rabbi Yashiv. So the truth is, if you go to Eretz Israel today, and you see over there the Ashkenazim, most of the Ashkenazim are lighting outside. Did you notice that? The Haredim, the ones who are religious Jews, the most religious, ultra-Orthodox, most of them today are lighting outside the building. Why is that? Because they listen to Rabbi Yashiv, he was their rabbi, he was Ashkenazi rabbi, So everybody listens to him over there. He's already passed away, 10 years ago he passed away. But anyway, the point is, right, that a lot of Ashkenazim they do outside. But the truth is, that there are some poskim who argue with this, most of the poskim, and they said, they said, even though there's no sakana today in most places, but the problem is that, once the minhag changed, it already changed. You cannot go back there anymore. You know what I mean? The custom already changed. That's it. It doesn't go back. There's also another reason, which I want to tell you, which is that even though today there's no sakana, but it could come back to sakana sometimes, When we are in galut, things are unstable. So, today things are good, tomorrow, I don't know what's going to be, Vinicius, You know how it is, right? We never thought, Baruch Hashem, we never dreamt, we never dreamt, us, that we're going to be in a communist country. It doesn't allow us to have a synagogue, to have a yeshiva, to have a rabbi. They don't allow us to teach Torah. Who would dream such a thing like this in our times, in our generation? We'd have communists like this. Amalek Rabbi. But we did. So you see that things can change. You never know what's going to be. Things are very unpredictable in Galut. Nobody knows what's going to be. So this is also another reason. Why? Because it may come back to sakana again. Even though today there's no sakana. So therefore, the best thing to do, Rabbatai, is we light indoors, as we said. I can tell you what was the Minhag HaMaran, right? Ravadia. He was living on Rehov Kablan Street. So over there, he was living on the second floor. He was my neighbor, So I used to see, where is he lighting the Chanukia? He was lighting in the window. That's where he was lighting, Right on Rehov Kablan. So that's what he was doing. So if you want to do like Maran, right, that's very good. So put it in your window, no problem, right? That's the best thing to do. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay, very good. So let's say one more thing. I was asked interesting question, a while ago, regarding the laws of Hanukkah. The question was like this, let's say a person is in a place where he can't light over their Hanukkah candles. This happened to me, by the way, one time. You know what happened? I was supposed to fly to Eretz Israel. I was going to Eretz Israel, to see the land. This was the first time I went there. When I was much younger, 30 years ago I'm talking about, 35 years ago. So I was going there to see it, and the first night, of Hanukkah was my flight. In those times, we had Tower Air, remember that airline, Tower? They were discount, So we got discount tickets, $500, Baruch Hashem. In that time you could fly to Israel $500. It was good. The good old days, huh? So what happened was that the first night of Hanukkah was that night, So what happened was that we got on a plane, and we didn't light Hanukkah candles. There was a reason why we didn't light. And on the plane, they don't let you. You light a fire on the plane, they'll kick you out. They'll get the police, they'll arrest you. It's very dangerous to do that. Don't play games like that. You know what I mean? You're playing with your life there. You're playing with fire, as they say, right? You don't light fire on the plane. So what happened was that we couldn't light, So unfortunately, what happened was that we lost the mitzvah that year. That night we couldn't do the mitzvah. We lost it. This was the only time I remember, that I lost the mitzvah of Hanukkah. What can you do? Right? I was not able to light. We made a mistake. There were some mistakes made, but we were younger in those days. We were foolish. That's the way it is, right? But anyway, the point is, right, that what if a person is like that? He's on a plane, let's say, or he's on a boat, right, on a ship. Over there, you're not allowed to light fire. They'll arrest you. They'll kick you out. So what do you do over there? So the truth is, that there's only one option. If a person could do it, right? Which is what? To light something electric, some kind of electric light. So the question is, can you light for Hanukkah electric light? And you'll say the Chovah with the electric light? This is the question that we asked, So the truth is that most poskim, as it brought down the Chazon Ovadia, Maran Ovadia, he brings over there, most poskim say, you cannot use electric to light Hanukkah candles. You cannot use electric. Even though some Reform Jews, they do it, some American Jews, American let's see. Electric menorah, they use. This is what they do. Right? But the truth is that, according to most poskim, you're not allowed to use electric. What's the reason why? The reason is because you don't have over there the takana, the chachamim. The chachamim wanted a candle with a wick, and with oil, with fuel. But here, with these, with the chashmal, with the electricity, you don't have any of that. There's no fuel. There's no nothing. So it doesn't resemble the way the rabbis made the takana, to light the candles on Hanukkah. And this is the reason why most poskim say you're not allowed to do that. So therefore, according to that, if you're on a plane, and you're going to lose the mitzvah, what can you do? Halach. Halas. Went to the mitzvah. What can you do, right? But there's also another opinion, which we saw in the books brought down in the name of Rabbi Eliashiv, and also Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who were the two big Ashkenazi rabbis of this generation. Poskim. Poskim. So they were both in Eretz Israel. So they both said something interesting. You know what they said? That a person, if he doesn't have a choice, he can light with electric lights, Hanukkah candles. They hold that you can. They hold that you can. Something very interesting. And they have their reasons for that. I'm not going to get into the whole deep the discussion about that, right? But the point is that since we have these two big poskim who say that they're allowed to light with electric, so therefore if a person has no choice, no other way to light, so what should you do? You should light with electric, and without a bracha. It shouldn't make a blessing. Why? We're not sure if this is fulfilling your mitzvah or not. Most poskim say you're not fulfilling the mitzvah. So therefore, if you have no choice, what should you do? Light with electric without a bracha. Right? No blessing. You know? But one thing, right, you have to understand. We're going to finish here, I'm sorry. So we're going to finish here, but I want to tell you, right, if you're lighting electric, there's one condition you have to fulfill. You know what that is? Don't light something which looks like a normal light, because people are not going to notice that's for Hanukkah. So you have to light something which is not normal, you know, not something you usually light. Something unusual a little bit, you know, something a little bit different. It looks like something extra. That's the whole thing, right? It has to look like something like extra. But if it doesn't look something extra, it looks like just a normal light you have every day in your house, that doesn't really do the job because people don't notice that. Doesn't really fulfill the obligation. Also, another thing I want to mention, very important, that the Poskim say, it says in Shulchan Aruch, the person, you know, it says, Adlaka osa mitzvah ve'lo hanacha osa mitzvah. What does that mean? That the mitzvah is to light the Chanukia, but not to place the Chanukia, not to place it. So what does that mean? According to this, what that means is that if once you light the Chanukia, you light the menorah, you're not allowed to move that Chanukia to a different location. Asur to do this. You should know. Very important, right? And if you do it, says the Shulchan Aruch, lo yatzai dechupa. You didn't fulfill your obligation. If you move the Chanukia after you lit it, and you moved it to a different location, what's the reason why? So says the Shulchan Aruch, the reason is because what happens is that people think, you know, when you do this, you're just lighting it for yourself. You need a flashlight to go somewhere. This is the reason why. So it's not noticeable that it's for Hanukkah. So therefore, once you light the Chanukia, don't move it. Leave it wherever it is. Right? First place it wherever you want to place it, wherever you want to have it there, and then light it. But don't first light it and then move it. למען צדקו יגדיר תורה וידיר.
Boria,